Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is, in order to prove climate change, the evil people are using Scalar Wave to cause food shortages. Let me say it again. In order to prove climate change, and with climate change, they're going to bring in a new world order and lots of things. In order to prove their climate change, they're using Scalar Wave, which is high technology that can create all kinds of weather changes. And right now, they're using it to just decimate food crops around the world. Okay, so let's get started. Most important news says this is why the global food crisis is about to go to a whole new level. Most people that live in the Western world don't realize that global hunger has been absolutely exploding. It's now become a major worldwide issue. Now, let me speak to that. You know, as you get older, which my wife is, I don't know about myself. Yes, me too. But as you get older, you don't need to eat as much. And so we have noticed that either our stomachs have shrunk or the portion size at the restaurants over the process of years has gotten much larger. As a matter of fact, we've got to where now when we do go to a restaurant, not real often, but when we do, a lot of times we'll just order one meal and cut it in half. In other words, most people in America don't know hunger. We have not tasted war or persecution, as the angel spoke to Dimitri, but all of that is coming in order to get our attention. But there is global hunger, and the prophecies say it's coming to America, and the prophecies say it is coming real soon. I don't know what real soon is. I hope it's not this year, probably next year, and almost certainly the year after if it hadn't already hit. Anyway, according to the UN, 2.4 billion people do not have enough food to eat on a consistent basis, and 900 million of them are facing severe food insecurity. Unfortunately, things are about to get a whole lot worse, he says. The deal between Russia and Ukraine that allowed so much grain to be shipped through the Black Sea has now been completely broken down. And now both sides are threatening to attack any transport ships that come through the Black Sea area. When the war between Russia and Ukraine began, wheat prices quickly soared to the highest level we've ever seen. But then a miracle happened. A deal was agreed in July 2022, allowing vast amounts of grain to be safely transported through the Black Sea. In other words, from Ukraine, which is one of the world's breadbaskets. But now the deal is over. On July 17th, the Russians now announced that they are pulling out of the deal, and on Thursday they have warned that any ship sailing through the Ukrainian ports now will, quote, be regarded as potential carriers of military cargo. And probably, the truth be known, that's exactly how the cargo, or the weapons from NATO and America, has been getting to Ukraine. In other words, when the ships go out, they're filled with grain. When they come back, they're filled with military to kill Russians. So, I understand. On Thursday, Moscow's defense ministry declared that, quote, all vessels sailing in the waters of the Black Sea to Ukrainian ports were regarded as potential carriers of military cargo. Truth be known, that's probably exactly what's happening. And the Russians are not stupid. It also added that several pockets of international water are declared temporarily dangerous for navigation, and vessels have been warned that there are no longer safety guarantees. Right now, global food production is being hit by one disaster after another. That's the war disaster, but there's more. In California, some of the most important farmland in the entire state is now underwater. What? A lake called Tulare has now filled up, miraculously, or by Scalar Wave, I think it's Scalar Wave, filled up for the first time in 40 years. Back in the 1800s, it was drained to use it as farmland. But now, mysteriously, it's filled back up. And consequently, it's taken away farmland. It's destroyed a lot of farm equipment. In other words, they're attacking our food. It gets worse. India triggers inflation fears after imposing major rice export ban. Now, essentially what this is going to say is that heavy monsoon rains has caused significant damage to the crops, so much so that India says it's not going to be exporting any rice. Now, is that because there's monsoon rains? that has damaged the crop, and India says they're not going to be exporting because of the monsoon rains, or, truth be known, it's probably Scalar Wave again causing that flooding, causing a lake to flood, causing other areas to have droughts. In other words, evil people in high places want their man, the Antichrist, on the throne. Now, you'll never hear this in most places, but this is the truth. And they are willing to do anything. Remember, they told Benjamin Fulford that we have ruled this planet for thousands of years, we'll destroy it, rather give it up. In other words, they are willing to destroy the entire planet. And by the way, by the time Armageddon rolls around, they almost do. They are willing to do anything. They will stop at nothing to get their man, the Antichrist, on the throne. That's what this is all about. Here's another article. Guess what it says? India is now the largest rice exporter, and they're now not going to be exporting rice. Why? Same thing, same article. Government said it's imposing a ban on non-basmati white rice after retail prices climbed 3% in a month after late, but heavy monsoon rains caused significant damage to crops. India accounts for more than 40% of the world rice exports. You take out 40% of the world's rice, 40%, wow. There's going to be some people starve over this, yes? You remember Henry Kissinger said, he that controls food can control the people. He that controls energy can control entire continents. But he that controls money can control the world. Well, why would they want to control the world? I play racquetball, as I've mentioned many times, and once in a great while, I'll get into a conversation about this, and I'll ask things like, do you think Russia's ever going to attack America? Oh, no, they'll never do that. They're clocked out. They totally do not have an idea, and I've already tried it. If I try to bring it up, then the window shade comes down, and I've had some people not even want to play racquetball with me anymore because they know that I'm a pastor. They know that I'm a Christian, and they don't want to be around me. And it's only going to get worse. Now, 40% of the world rice exports, that's big. And it's not going to get their attention until something really bad happens. Another article, most important news again. This is why so many people are suddenly panic buying rice all over the United States. Yeah, it's hitting the United States. On July 20th, less than a week ago, India banned the export of non-basmati white rice. Okay, we've talked about that. We know that. With immediate effect to stabilize the volatile retail prices in the country, rice production has taken a hit owing to vagaries of weather. So they're saying, in this article also saying, it's all due to weather. When people get desperate, he says, they can do crazy things. In fact, there was one report of some very desperate customers or consumers wrestling for a bag of rice in Dallas, Texas. That's near where I live. Okay, I live in the DFW area. Some of the videos that are currently circulating are just nuts. I think that we would see anything of this nature, didn't think I'd see anything of this nature in the United States this summer. Well, we're going to start seeing a lot of strange things. Matter of fact, in in August, they're supposed to be coming online with the digital currency. Also, they're supposed to be coming online with the 41 countries that are now switching over to trading in something other than the dollar. So we can look for something to happen possibly as soon as July, but almost certainly we'll see it by August. Hopefully we won't feel it for several more months. But I think if you are waiting to get prepared, you're doing some dangerous waiting. Article goes on to say, grocery stores across America had increased the price of rice bags. Seeing the frenzy, 9 kilograms of rice, which used to cost $15 or $16, now being sold for $46. Other retailers responded by placing limits on the amount of rice that each customer can purchase. The owner of one store in Masontown is asking customers to restrict their purchase to one 20-pound bag of rice. Why? You know, again, we never thought we'd ever see any kind of food shortages in America. So I haven't talked about this in a long time, so let me take just a second and discuss it. So let me tell you the story. well, actually, I told that story more in detail yesterday, so I'll skip part of it. But essentially, what I discovered, I think God showed me, is that during the 7 years of famine, back in the days of Joseph and the Pharaoh, what fed the world was wheat. So we started Joseph Kitchen, and my daughter is the one that owns it and runs it, does a fantastic job, by the way. Anyway, so I would suggest you go to Joseph Kitchen. Yes, if you use a promo code Prophecy or Prophecy Club or something like that, there's some kind of a discount you get in there. Anyway, what I suggest you do, I hope you're listening. I'm doing this not because I'm trying to make money. I'm doing this because there's going to come a day that if you don't have some preparations, you're going to be sorely wishing you had. Okay, so what you do, go to Joseph Kitchen, get yourself a machine package. Now, let me jump down, show you what a machine package is. You get this bread slicer. I was actually involved in the designing of this. And so it's really good. As a matter of fact, they even give you a knife with it. So you put your loaf of bread in there, and then you cut down there. You make a nice, either thin, medium, or either thick slices. You got a choice of any of those. First thing you do is, this is a Wonder Mill. You put your berries in the top, push this little button right there. 30 seconds later, this fills up with flour. You put into the bread machine, along with 6 other ingredients. We even give you the beakers. We even give you a thermometer. Okay, everything you need to make the rice. Now, and this tells you the ingredients that comes with it down here. Then you decide how much food you want. Now, most of your long-term storage food places will cost you, one person, 1 year, $9,000. One person, 1 year, $9,000, but Joseph Kitchen can show you how to do it for about $1,000 per person per year. So after you get your machine package, then you decide how much food you want. If you're single, this is what you want. If you got a mom and dad, especially if they're maybe older, this will probably do you. But even if you're older, just mom and dad, I would suggest you consider getting this one. Get more than you need, because when the trouble really hits, your doorbell is going to be ringing, probably people showing up with blankets and pillows and a hungry stomach, and they want some help, and you want to be able to help them. So I'd suggest at least get a 4-person 1 year, or food enough for 6 people for 1 year. When they send it to you, you've already got your machine package, this is what you get. If you order the 6-people package, you get 9 6.6 gallon pails like this, okay, of this wheat berries. Now, it is infused with nitrogen. That way, it reduces the oxygen. It makes everything last longer. It keeps it fresher and everything. And most places know that. Look, if you get wheat berries in a paper bag, that's good for about a year. This stuff, we don't know. Probably 25 years, maybe longer. So anyway, you want to go there. You get 3 pails of hard white, 1 Redmond salt, 10 pounds of salt, 8 extra virgin olive oil, 3-liter cans, 6 gallons of honey, 6 blocks of 1 pound yeast, and organic liquid soy. You get everything you need to feed 6 people for a year. Now, I suggest when you get it, start making bread. Don't just stick it off someplace. Don't store it, and don't store it in a hot place. Don't put it in your attic. Okay, you want to keep it in normal temperature, as we call it, climate controlled. Okay, let's go on. Now, I've covered this briefly, so I'm not going to cover it too long the other day, but essentially the Kansas Wheat Report is saying the wheat that they normally are expecting in Kansas is like not near as good as it normally is. And guess what they say the problem is? Weather. Scalar Wave, same thing there. And it doesn't stop. Here come the grasshoppers. In 2023, global crops have been devastated by plague after plague. Farmers in the U.S. and elsewhere have had to deal with seemingly endless drought, unprecedented heat, nightmarish flooding, horrifying outbreaks of disease. Now, in fact, citrus greening disease is one of the primary reasons why the orange harvest in Florida is only going to be about half as large as it was last year. Ravenous hordes of insects has been one plague that has been noticeably absent from the list. Unfortunately, now that has changed. See, these are plagues from the hand of the Lord because we have turned from our God. We've started sinning against him, and it even gets worse. Now let's go to war. These are other signs of the last days, signs that God is bringing us down. Putin has now signed a law on the introduction of digital rubles in Russia. So now we see the dollar, for sure, is about to crash. Putin signed the digital dollar bill into law on July 24th. The digital ruble law is taking effect August 1. The digital ruble is expected to act as the third form of money alongside cash and non-cash rubles. Russian citizens will not be forced to use the CBDC, and the use of the digital ruble will be a voluntary choice left up to individuals to decide. Okay, so now we see our food being cut off. Now we see our dollar being cut off, and there's more. OpenAI's Sam Altman launches WorldCoin Crypto project. WorldCoin, a cryptocurrency project founded by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, launched on Monday. By the way, there was a lot of articles out there on this. A lot of people seeing this as a big problem. The project's core offering is its World ID, which the company describes as a digital passport. To get a World ID, a customer signs up to do an in-person, get this, iris scan using WorldCoin's orb. What's an orb? Well, it's a silver ball about the size of a bowling ball, and it creates a World ID. You just stare into this silver ball, and it reads probably a lot more than just your iris. Probably it gets all of your facial, who knows, maybe fingerprints, who knows what it can do. But they got you. You look into that silver ball and they got you. Blockchains can store the World IDs in a way that preserves privacy and can't be controlled or shut down by any single entity. We have the Bible. 2,000 years ago, John was told, and they causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in the forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. We know that's where it's really going. So what they're really saying is they are now in the process of setting up the final legs of the system that will one day prohibit you from buying and selling unless you have the mark. Now for that, I really think you got to call cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Look, you got $10,000 or more, or even $1,000 in the bank you don't want to lose, you need to call them. Say, look, here's what I got, here's where I am, here's what I make. What do you suggest? Get some advice. Maybe you don't take it. Maybe you don't do anything. Maybe do something later. But I think it's wise. I mean, Solomon said there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. Call them. Get their suggestion. cornerstoneassetmetals.com. World IDs could be used to tell the difference between real people and AI bots online. Well, once again, we got the prophecy from Scalar showing that the internet is all going to turn dark. It's all going to turn evil. And how close? Well, this is actually from the Board of Governors Federal Reserve website. This is from federalreserve.gov. I took it off the website myself. And it says, the FedNow Service went live July the 20th, 2023. What does that mean? The way we prophecy students would say that is this. The Mark of the Beast system went live July the 20th. The system for the Mark of the Beast went live July 20th, 2023. Remember in the Terminator movie where they said that the computer became self-aware on such and such date? Well, that's what you could say here. You can say the system that will one day be the system so that no one can buy or sell, say if you have the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name, started July 20th, 2023. It is available to depository institutions in the United States and enables individuals and businesses to send instant payments through their depository institution accounts. Isn't that wonderful? But anything the government, by the way, the Federal Reserve is not government. It's not the United States. It's world bankers. Anyway, anything the government gives, it can also take away. So in this case, anything the world bankers give, they can also take away. Russian parliament increases the draft age to 30, suitable for general mobilization or big war. So we're seeing war. We're seeing our food be cut off. We're seeing our dollar being cut off. The Russian State Duma adopted a bill that provides for the raising of the draft age to 30 instead of 27. In other words, they're getting more Russians to go out and fight. Young people from 18 to 30 years old can thus be called up for military service. And it goes into force January 1, 2024. This law is written for a big war, for the general mobilization, and this already is a big war. Russia knows what is coming and training their people for it. Back in 1962, in case you don't remember this, the then Soviet Union placed a medium-range intermediate nuclear missiles in Cuba with a 5-minute flight time to Washington, D.C. This resulted in the Cuban Missile Crisis, wherein then U.S. President John F. Kennedy imposed a naval blockade of Cuba and began amassing U.S. troops in Florida for an invasion of Cuba to destroy those missiles. For the 13 days when the crisis erupted, the world stood on the precipice of actual nuclear war. The U.S. had blockaded Cuba and was massing troops. The Soviets faced a choice with the missiles: use them or lose them. Now, with that in mind, Cuba now announces it is now ready to accept Russian missiles. But do you think Biden is going to stop it? No, Biden probably called him and said, "Hey, I'll approve you taking those missiles into Cuba now." Do I think Biden is a traitor? I guess maybe a better question is, do you think Biden is a traitor? Cuba announces it's ready to accept Russian missiles as Russian Navy arrives 90 miles from U.S. coast. The Vice Admiral Kulikov and an Undulate class destroyer of the Russian Navy has arrived in Cuba. For an official visit for the first time in a long time, there is dangerous news for the United States. According to the American military experts, this could mean the return of Russia to Cuba, with all the resulting consequences, the deployment of Russian troops and long-range missiles. This will be a decisive Russian response to the threats posed by the expansion of NATO's presence in Northern Europe and Japan. Okay, so we crossed the red line first. America and NATO has placed troops on Russian borders. We've already been sending weapons over to Ukraine that have already killed many Russian troops. So Cuba, Russia, is only a normal reaction. Covert intel indicates cargo ships in Russia with a pre-filled transit route to Cuba, which seem to be in process of being loaded with components from Russian missile manufacturing factories. In other words, Russia's putting missiles down in Cuba. 1962, we wouldn't allow it. Biden wants, in my opinion, to see America fall so they can put their man, the Antichrist, on the throne. So, my brothers and sisters, you got to get ready. You got to get ready. First thing, ask Jesus to forgive your sins. Here's some other things. Let's talk about Joseph's Kitchen. I actually cooked this loaf of bread you're seeing here. Takes me about 10 minutes to put the ingredients together, put it into a bread machine, push a button, 2 hours, 20 minutes later, I get a loaf of bread out like that. Now, if you cut that loaf of bread that weighs about 3 pounds, the loaves you get in the store have most of the good stuff removed. The loaves you get in the store are about 1 pound. That's 3 pounds because it's got the good stuff still in it. Cut that into 14 slices, and if I eat a slice in the morning and the afternoon, I'm satisfied. So on that basis, one loaf can sustain, I didn't say it's everything we want, can sustain one person for a week. Based upon that, it'll get you excellent nutrition. It tastes good, long storage life, 10 minutes to combine the ingredients, 2 hours, 20 minutes to make it. Other wheat that you order arrives in paper bags, which means bugs, rice, humidity can get a hold of it and ruin it. But at Joseph's Kitchen, they send it out in 100 mil thick buckets. Gives you long shelf life. It's stackable. It's nitrogen infuses that hopefully gives it a much longer shelf life, kills bugs and things like that. Easily resealable. Keep in a climate-controlled area. And they have it in stock. This is a picture, an actual picture of part of the warehouse. Here's another picture of these. Actually, each one of those boxes holds 2,500 pounds of wheat. And I think they've got 54 of those boxes, a bunch of them. So Joseph's Kitchen can ship it to you right now. You go to most of these places, they say out of stock. So here's what you want to do. Everybody needs to get a machine package. These are the things that you need to grind the wheat berries. Put them into a grinder. 30 seconds later, you have flour. You put that into the bread machine along with 6 other ingredients. Push about 2 hours, 20 minutes later, you have a nice hot loaf of whole wheat bread. Then you have to decide how much food you want. You want food 2 people 1 year, 4 people 1 year, 6 people 1 year. And if you want to make certain you have it when the electricity goes down, you can also get yourself a solar generator, all at josephskitchen.com. josephskitchen.com. Terry Saka with CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. So what's going on in the world of finances? Why should they call today?
Well, China has laid out in a speech a few weeks ago exactly what they think of the United States. I haven't seen that in my 55 years. With China and Russia forming these reserve currencies, new reserve currency, we better be prepared because that dollar is going to be in deep trouble and we're going to need assets to protect us from it.
CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. Call them or go online, CornerstoneAssetMetals.com, or call them at 888-747-3309. 888-747-3309. I am having another Level 2. Level 2 School of the Watchmen's Conference, and I'm calling this a teacher's course. It's going to be September 15 and 16. You can go to prophecyclub.com, and it'll tell you all of the details about it. And it gives you all of the requirements. I'll let you read that online. However, the big question is you're going to be saying, well, what's the difference between Level 1 and Level 2? Well, lots. Level 1 was primarily reading through most of the book of Revelation and teaching it. That's not be Level 2. Yes, we will do some reading. But this one is designed to make you a teacher of Bible prophecy, which, by the way, our office wants to know if you went through Level 1 and if you have taught or have been invited to teach from the book of Revelation and you went through Level 1, send me an email. I'd like to know that. I know there's been at least one. I think there's 2, maybe more. Anyway, I'd like to know. So Level 2 is to teach you to the point to where you can be qualified to actually teach the book of Revelation. Now, I can tell you right up front, we're going to have a Level 3, God willing. And in that one, I'm going to require people to memorize the book of Revelation to come to Level 3. And so there's going to be 1 year's difference between Level 2 and Level 3. It took me a year to memorize it, so I figure it'll take you a year to memorize it. Some of you may even faster. So go to prophecyclub.com, and it'll give you all the details, tells you all about some of the difficult questions and things like that we're going to cover in Level 2. Level 2 is going to get you real close to being a qualified teacher of Revelation. But by the time you get through Level 3, having memorized the book, pastor's going to listen to you. And that's where we're going with this. Secret door to understand Bible prophecy. It will help you to understand. It's not complicated, but it is deep. Because to understand Bible prophecy, well, let's put it this way. I wish I had had the book 30 years ago. It would have helped me understand Bible prophecy. It would have put so many misunderstandings that I have had through the years in place. Matter of fact, when I started getting these 30 revelations, because I memorized the book of Revelation, I learned a lot. I learned a lot I did not know. I think I went to school with Jesus, and I don't think I'm something special. Matter of fact, I don't even think it came because I memorized the book of Revelation. I think you're something special. I think he gave the book to his end-time saints, his end time watchmen, so that you can explain to people, so you can be a part of the great move of God, the great harvest, the thousands upon thousands of souls that are about to come to Jesus. And if you want to share in that harvest, you need to be able to explain Bible prophecy, and the Holy Spirit is not going to put up with you teaching a bunch of errors. You got to know what you got to know. And that is, you got to kick out that idea thinking that there's going to be a pre-trib rapture. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There's other things, you got to learn. And this is the reason I think he gave the book. Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy, prophecyclub.com. prophecyclub.com.